Welcome to Friday Night Ghost Frights, a series of real, true experiences with the paranormal and the supernatural. Ghost tales that will frighten you in the depths of the night. Some may not believe the things I'm about to describe, but I assure you that everything I'm about to tell you is absolutely true. It is up to you, dear viewer, as to whether you believe me or not. The Trail of Tears. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson signed into law the Indian Removal Act, which forced the 5 tribes of the East to move westward into what was then known as Indian Territory, what we now know as Oklahoma. In order to protect the Chickasaw and Choctaw Indian tribes as they built their new community, Fort Washita in southeast Oklahoma was built. The Plains Indians of that time did not like their new neighbors. Fort Washita has had many uses over its history. The protection of those particular tribes was one of them. Another was as a depot, a stopping point for those headed west during the California Gold Rush. During the Civil War, it was used by both sides, both the Union and the Confederacy, during the war. After the Union troops abandoned the facility, the Confederacy took over and used it as regional headquarters. It was also a major supply depot and medical center for the Confederacy. But when the South lost the war between the states, the Confederate troops decided to burn the facility so the Union could not seize it again. General Douglas Cooper, who commanded the Confederate troops at Fort Washita, is buried there in an unmarked grave, and it is not known today where he is laid to rest. The most prominent ghost tales of Fort Washita come from its Civil War era, and a woman simply known as Aunt Jane. There are 3 main tales of Aunt Jane's fate, all of which include a beheading, but the other details are quite different. One of the tales has Aunt Jane as a free African-American woman working for the Union as a spy. However, she wasn't a very good spy and was caught there at the fort by the Confederate troops, where she was summarily beheaded. Another tale has her as the white wife of an officer there at Fort Washita, and according to the legend, she liked to carry around $20 worth of gold in a small purse. Well, one day, she ventured out a little too far beyond the fort's boundaries, and due to her notoriety carrying around this bag of money, she was jumped by bandits, and in the ensuing struggle, she lost her head. In the third tale, she was also an officer's wife, but this tale is again a little different. While her husband was on duty, she took another man into her bed, and when the husband came home and found the lovers, he beheaded them both and dumped their heads in a nearby river. Of course, there's plenty of other paranormal activity there at Fort Washita associated with the Civil War, such as the galloping of horses along the path, the apparitions of soldiers seen all over the fort. There are strange and mysterious mists that hang in the Confederate cemetery at times. And of course, there's the occasional shot of gunfire, seemingly coming from nowhere. When I visited Fort Washita a number of years ago to make one of my Ghosts and Legends videos, I stepped into the old barracks and did a quick EVP session. While it wasn't my audio recorder that captured something, the camera's microphone picked up the phrase, "don't know," when I asked if a possible soldier that could have been there was for the Union or the Confederacy. The clip on the YouTube video is actually rather hard to hear, but you can hear it in the raw video that I captured. We ventured into the barrack ruins to attempt an EVP session. Right now we're in the barracks. This is where the enlisted men stayed. It was a couple floors high, which, you know, the ceiling's gone and the other floor, but the windows are still here. Much of the structure is still around. Confederate soldiers stayed here during the Civil War. Now we're from Oklahoma, up further in Indian Territory. We're trying to see if anybody from the Civil War is still here, any Confederate soldiers. We're just curious about your time here and what may have gone on here during the Civil War. Were you Union or a Confederate? This response was found from the camera footage and not the actual audio recorder. If this is a spirit, it may not be from the Civil War period. Union or a Confederate? Another personal experience that happened there was with my daughter, who was along with me for the trip. When we stepped into the Confederate cemetery, she suddenly felt extremely cold, which was quite unusual since it was a warm summer day. Another paranormal hotspot at Fort Washita is the Bahaman Cabin, which is not actually originally from Fort Washita. It was brought in from a location near Durant for the living history tours that they conduct there. And on one particular night, when one of the living history teams had been staying there, one of the women woke up in the middle of the night with a feeling of choking, as if somebody was trying to strangle her. Another woman had felt as if there was a strange dark presence hovering over her. And all of them within the cabin had dreams that night of strangulation. It seems as if many spirits, of all kinds, roam the old historic fort. Some historic legends are true, and some historic locations find their way into your haunted dreams. Thank you for watching Friday Night Ghost Frights. Please let us know what you think of our show in the comments below. And if you have not yet, please subscribe. I'm Mike Ricksecker. Until next Friday night.
I felt a cold spot, some like chills going up my back. The hairs on my back of my neck were standing up. I started getting goosebumps.